All right, want to make sure you had an opportunity to run through this again. This is what we did in class on Wednesday. Figured you'd like the opportunity to hear my voice 24 hours a day if need be. So here's the rundown. You will need this in the future. Here are our 7 continents, although Antarctica is not really showing. But you've got your Americas, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, in case you needed a review on that. Here's the warm-up we were working with. You don't need to identify those 7 continents. It's been done for you already. But we want to get it down to those 4 major continents, and we'll look at that in a second. We also want to remind ourselves we're looking for the 4 most important crops or plants that we use for food, and also animals used for the same type of thing. So we get to that first warm-up, right? And we're going to turn our 7 continents into 4. We got rid of Antarctica. We don't need it. Nobody lives there. Africa stays the same. America has taken over for North and South America. We've smushed it together. Australia is by itself, and Eurasia is just a combination of Europe and Asia. Here it is on our map one more time. Here we've got the Americas. Right, we'll call this America. Right. Here we have Eurasia. Right, they're the ones we're combining. Africa stands alone. Australia stands alone. Antarctica is not invited. So the big question we're looking for is, how did life differ on the 4 major continents once they were inhabited by people? So we're looking at beginnings of civilization. How did life differ? And it all comes down to that geography. So we get into our 4 big crops, those plants you had to think about. The first one we run into is sorghum. We'll wait for this. Get out of the way, buddy. All right, there's your sorghum. There's your sorghum farmer. All right, your quick snippet. If you need to pause on this and read through, please do. But sorghum was in Africa. Not a great source of protein, not a great crop, but it was a big one for that continent. Right. We also had corn. Right, corn was number 3. Again, if you want to read through this, feel free to pause, but we're looking at Central America. Right. Then we get to rice. Rice is a staple for the Asian countries, especially China. 10,000 years ago, began growing that in China. Big part of the food that people rely on today. So there's rice out in Asia. And finally, number 1, tipping the scales, is wheat. Wheat was number 1. We see it all the time in our society. It's part of our culture, right? But originally it came from here, the Middle East, that Fertile Crescent. Right, let's look at it on the map. Right, here again, America, Africa, Australia, and then Eurasia, combination of Europe and Asia. So we throw sorghum in. It's down here in the tropical regions of Africa. We get to corn, which is in Central America, rice in the Far East, and wheat in the Fertile Crescent, or Mesopotamia, all Western Asia. Lots of names for this. Right. There are our big 4 crops. Right, let's keep moving in. Oh, don't mind him. Right, into our big 6 animals. Right. Number 6, we know it's not the lion. Right. Number 6 is going to be the horse. Horses are a big piece of this. If you read through this, you can see everything, but a big part is that they could pull things. They could also act as transportation for humans. That made the idea of sharing information much easier, and also war. So with horses, you had a better chance of winning if you were fighting against someone who didn't have a horse. Right. Horses are going to show up in Asia, kind of Central Asia. Moving along to number 5, not the chick, but the llama. Right. Llama is really important in ancient Americas, really South America, and a little bit in Central America. Difficult to work with. Very stubborn, if you will. They could be used for meat, right, for their hides and as fertilizer. And you'd see them in the mountains, so let's place the llama. There's the llama hanging out. Number 4, speaking of hanging out, get rid of him, we get to the pig. The pig is really just a source of food. You're not going to pull anything with a pig. You're not going to ride a pig. but we see this shows up in the Fertile Crescent and in China, so let's map those quick. There's your Fertile Crescent, right, in this area where the wheat is, and the pig is hanging out with the rice in China. Number 3, we get to the sheep. Right, sheep are important, obviously, for their wool, but also for milk, some other byproducts. Here again, we are in the Fertile Crescent. So let's add our sheep in, right? The sheep really should be in this area, but we're running out of room, right? So really it's down in this, really where wheat is. These all 3 should be there. There's our Fertile Crescent, today's Middle East. We get to number 2, our second most important animal is the goat. The goat, important for milk. Right? Real good animal in that sense. Once again, here we are in the Middle East, so let's plot that. Right, there's our goat. Again, because we don't want to have all the words over each other, we're kind of spreading them out, but they're all really right in here. Right, number 1, we just talked about milk, and when you think milk, you probably think of this guy, or this girl, the cow. Cows, a lot of information here. There are 2 pieces again. Feel free to stop this if you want to read through all of it. We're looking at Europe, Asia, and North Africa. So when we put those in, there's North Africa, there's Europe. We'll sneak that right in there. And now you've got a pretty good picture. All right, let's add a couple things in. All right, we do have a Sahara Desert that's going to separate that sorghum. All right, we have desert in the southern part of the Americas, in North America. Into Central America. That's going to keep that corn from moving very quickly. Eventually corn will get to North America, but it'll take a long time. We've got some rainforests down south of the corn, the Amazon River down in that area. Difficult to travel as well. So corn's going to move, but it's going to take a while. And you've also got more rainforest down in Africa. Africa is really at a disadvantage geographically. Right, so who ends up the winner here? Right, if you're looking at this and you're thinking, who's going to be the most advanced? Who's going to be able to have the largest population? Because the more food you have, the more population you can have. Right, it's going to be Eurasia by a large margin. So when we look back at this, right, we know from what we've discussed, right about here, where the sheep and the wheat and the pig and the goat and the cow are hanging out, we're going to have writing develop. Over here in China, pig and rice and horse and cow, we're going to have writing develop. Over here where the corn is, we have some writing develop, but it's kind of isolated. Keep in mind the big one here is the horse. The horse means you can go back and forth, right? So people can share these ideas. This is really where things are going to work out. Not because people are smarter or brighter or whiter. It all has to do with the gifts that geography has bestowed. It's just good luck that they ended up in this area.